As we welcome you to NFL Live, getting this weekend kicked off with Mina Kimes, Tim Hasselbeck, and Jeff Darlington. And Jeff, let's get right into the breaking news of the day. Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo suspended for 2 games. What's the latest?
That's right. It is a PED suspension, so a 2-game suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. Now, this is related, according to Adam Schefter, to a prescription that he was taking that he did not get the proper clearance from the NFL to be taken. This does happen from time to time, but this one comes with extremely harsh consequences. Not only will Garoppolo face a 2-game suspension, as the likelihood of the Raiders will release him, but this is likely to void the guarantees for 2024 worth $11.25 million. That's what this could ultimately cost Jimmy Garoppolo. He is not expected to appeal, according to Schefter. So again, a harsh penalty for what was already going to be a harsh offseason for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Wow. And with Antonio Pierce as the new head coach, Tom Telesco, the new GM, here we have the Raiders looking for a new quarterback. As Jeff said, that's irrespective of what just happened. They also have the 13th pick in the draft. Mina, who'd you like to see at QB there in Vegas?
Yeah, where I think this is interesting for Las Vegas is, as Jeff said, it already seemed like they were going to move on from Garoppolo, and they already had a fair amount of cap space. Now they have even more, over $50 million. So when we talk about who's going to play quarterback for them next year, you start considering not options just in the draft, but also in free agency. Specifically, Kirk Cousins, who is a free agent, I think most people agree is going to be probably the highest paid free agent quarterback, and there's certainly a possibility he'll return to Minnesota. But if the Raiders were open to taking a swing on him, I think they'd be able to afford his contract, and I would like that for them because I think it's a good destination. This is an offensive line that's played better recently. They still have good skill players and a defense that you saw really improve in the second half of last season under their then interim, now permanent head coach Antonio Pierce. So I would like Las Vegas to make a run at Kirk and see if they can entice him to leave Minnesota and come south.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Mina. I mean, and I think that Kirk Cousins is probably unanimously, in terms of somebody that could be available, probably the top guy on most people's board in regards to that. But I also think that exploring other options, because I do think there's a chance that Kirk ends up back in Minnesota. And if that were to be the case, look, I know that Seattle just picked up the roster bonus of Geno Smith, but he would be a relatively inexpensive option that would also, I believe, kind of provide stable and above average quarterback play. So I would at least be intrigued with what Seattle was thinking. I'd be definitely interested in potentially going the draft route, even if you had to move a few spots in the draft to get a young player. And then I'd also, as we hear about, destinations for Justin Fields, I would want to be involved in that game as well if I were the Raiders. So I actually believe that there are a lot of options, and many of them good for the Raiders as they reboot things with Antonio Pierce.